Welcome everyone. Today we'll be talking about COVID-19 replication and how it causes symptoms and disease. But first I want to thank King's Academy for inviting me to give this talk at this important symposium. So let's dive right in. The coronaviruses are a large family of common viruses found in humans and animals. There are now 7 known coronaviruses affecting humans. There are 4 seasonal types that cause the common cold. The 5th was the SARS-CoV of 2002 that started in China, the MERS-CoV of 2015 that started in the Middle East, and now the 7th is the SARS-CoV-2, which causes coronavirus disease or COVID-19. This is the 3rd coronavirus in the last 2 decades to cause widespread infection and likely won't be the last. This is the structure of COVID-19 virus with the protein spikes on its surface. The largest are the S spikes, which are the key to enter human cells. Inside is the genetic code, or the RNA. So the coronaviruses have the largest genome of all RNA viruses, yet they are so small that you can't see them under regular light microscope because they are smaller than the length of light waves. So you need a scanning electron microscope to see them. These are the spikes that give them their name and look like a crown or the sun rays. This is the size compared to other viruses. They have a diameter of around 120 nanometers or 0.1 micrometers, similar to SARS and slightly bigger than influenza. Having a large genome makes it more susceptible to mutations, and by the way, every year around 2 to 3 new viruses emerge in the world, the majority of which are RNA viruses, but they rarely cause this widespread effect. It's interesting to learn the importance of bats in transmitting many viral infections, including SARS-CoV, the original one, Ebola, MERS-CoV, and this novel coronavirus, and many other high-profile epidemics. And again, this won't be the last transmitted by bats either. So here are some interesting facts about bats. Its population constitutes about 1/4 or 25% of all mammals. They harbor many viruses, but somehow they never get sick. Not only that, they rarely get cancer, and this is likely due to their unique immune system that we still don't understand, and this might hold the key to understand how to treat viruses and even cancer in the future. Back to COVID-19. So today I'm going to focus on what happens when the virus first enters the body and how it produces symptoms and causes illness or death. This helps understand why symptoms occur and progress, and also explains potential treatments and vaccinations. What we didn't know is that unlike the first SARS-CoV of 2002, this one enters the oral or nasal cavity, or what we call the upper airways, and it's quite efficient at replicating there in the mucous membranes, causing the initial symptoms of the common cold like sore throat, nasal congestion, headache, fever, and the more recently described loss of smell or anosmia and loss of taste as an early and maybe the only symptom of COVID-19. But then it gets deep in the lungs, specifically the alveoli, which are the air sacs at the end of the small airways or bronchioles, and especially what we call type 2 pneumocytes, which line the wall of the alveoli. So if COVID-19 holds the key to enter the body, which is the spike, the S spike, then the lock is the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 or ACE2 receptors on the surface of these cells. This allows the virus to invade those cells, and that's when all the action begins. But before we explore this, here's a quick primer of molecular biology and how human cells normally function. So basically, human cells contain DNA in their nucleus. This is the code to synthesize every single protein needed for cellular function. It's a double helix structure, or double-stranded, or simply has 2 strings. It's first transcribed to RNA, which is then translated to the encoded protein. And the RNA is single-stranded, by the way. So the DNA in the nucleus first opens up in the small fragment that needs to be copied. Then it's transcribed into a single-stranded RNA that is released in the cytoplasm, where ribosomes translate this code to make proteins that are essential blocks of life by assembling amino acids. Well, guess who else has RNA? So the COVID-19 virus enters the cell by attaching to the ACE2 receptor on human cells, or can go directly inside by a process called endocytosis. And once it's inside, it releases its genetic code inside the cytoplasm, which is the RNA. And with the help of multiple enzymes, most importantly, RNA-dependent RNA polymerase, it makes the body think it's a human genetic code that needs to be translated. So the virus hijacks this cellular machinery and forces it to produce more viral structures, such as the envelope coded by the E spike, the membrane encoded by the M spike, and the actual RNA. Then all these structures are assembled in the endoplasmic reticulum and the Golgi apparatus, which are the packaging facilities of cells. So they are packaged to make new baby viruses, and they grow until the cells burst and die, which causes the release of inflammatory mediators inside these cells. So back to this page. So COVID-19 travels to the alveoli and binds the ACE2 receptor on the type 2 pneumocytes and causes infection. This will cause swelling and inflammation and accumulation of fluids inside these alveoli. This irritates the lining of the lungs and impairs oxygen and gas exchange, which causes symptoms of shortness of breath and cough. It can also collapse the alveoli and fill them with inflammatory fluid and impair oxygen exchange and cause hypoxemia or low oxygen. In some people, this might lead to an exaggerated response and the large release of pro-inflammatory mediators, or what's called a cytokine storm in the bloodstream. This causes an uncontrolled systemic inflammatory response, which can lead to acute respiratory distress syndrome, or ARDS, and multi-organ failure. This is the extreme end of the spectrum and similar to other viral and bacterial infections. So the respiratory symptoms are caused by local infection, but the ACE2 receptors are also found outside the lungs, like the heart, kidneys, intestines, CNS, and testicles. So some organs are directly involved, but there's also a systemic component of symptoms. And here it gets complicated. See, what we talked about so far is conventional wisdom and can occur at any stage, but it's not the whole story. The heart, for example, is commonly affected, but autopsies didn't find actual viruses invading the heart. Now, as doctors, we're more concerned about what causes death to the patient, not just their symptoms or apparent organs involved. Also, we were seeing patients behave very differently from the classical ARDS. Many patients are dying suddenly or once placed on ventilators. So every time we try to put this virus in a box similar to other coronaviruses or influenza, it proves us wrong. It tricked us so many times so far and humbled us, and you can ask the WHO about that. This happens so many times that I caution you of thinking that we have already figured out everything about this virus. Recent autopsies, for example, showed microthrombosis or small blood clots in the lung vessels, and emerging studies are now showing benefit from certain blood thinners or anticoagulation as part of the treatment. There's also evidence of vasoconstriction or narrowing of the blood vessels inside the lungs, causing what's called ventilation-perfusion mismatch. This explains why many people have very low oxygen yet have minimal shortness of breath. So we have different phenotypes of lung involvement. There's also recent evidence that this virus attacks the red blood cells, or the porphyrin ring component, which binds oxygen and makes it unable to transport oxygen, which is a second hit, and also can release harmful forms of iron that can cause oxidation in the system. We also found out that it spreads much easier than we ever thought, and that under certain circumstances can be actually airborne. We also found that even after 14 days of treatment and monitoring, some patients are still relapsing and can still be contagious. So it seems that our immune system is having a hard time getting rid of this virus, whether the innate immune system, which is the non-specific and first response system. And by the way, many therapeutic modalities work on this, including the recent suggestion that the TB vaccine, BCG, helps strengthen the innate immune system to fight COVID-19. And there's also the adaptive immune system, the more specific one. It's like the SWAT team, which is the specific antibody formation by T cells and B cells. This can occur naturally or by a vaccine. And the virus is also starting to mutate, and there's evidence already of different types, with some more aggressive types than others. Also, different strains are affecting different countries. But fortunately, these mutations so far are minor. But with the astronomical number of viruses circulating around the world, this is definitely something to worry about. And to end on a lighter note, I know this is not the spring break students were looking for, but this too shall pass. We're proud of the early measures implemented in Jordan and the unity and solidarity between citizens and residents. So stay home, stay safe. Thank you for watching.